Have you ever said something completely innocent and watched a stranger's heart shatter right in front of you a Sunday afternoon? A quiet cafe where forgotten dreams gather in corners, and a shy girl with trembling hands is about to speak 6 words that will change 2 lives forever. She doesn't know the man standing before her, doesn't know what he's survived, but somehow, impossibly, she's about to repeat the exact phrase his ex-fiancée whispered before abandoning him in his darkest hour. This is an inspirational story about 2 broken souls who found healing in the most unexpected place. The cafe sits on the edge of the business district, a refuge for those seeking solitude on weekends. Anaya Hills occupies the shadowed corner booth, her brown hair falling like a protective curtain around her pale face. On her laptop screen glows an architectural model, intricate, precise, the work of someone who understands buildings the way poets understand language. But her hands won't stop shaking. The door opens. A man enters, tall, expensively dressed, moving with controlled grace despite the faint mechanical whisper that accompanies each step. Luke Callahan, CEO of Callahan Innovations. His left leg is carbon fiber, a prosthetic that speaks of survival and loss. He scans the crowded cafe. Only one table has an empty seat. He approaches the shy girl in the corner. "Sorry, can I share this table?" Anaya startles violently, her pen clattering to the floor. She nods without raising her eyes, shrinking into herself as if trying to become invisible. Luke settles across from her, and the silence between them feels heavy with unspoken grief. He notices her trembling hands gripping the laptop edge until her knuckles turn white. "Rough day." His voice carries the gentleness of someone who knows what fragility feels like. Anaya draws a shaky breath. When she finally speaks, her whisper barely reaches across the table. "Every day feels like something is missing." Luke's coffee cup freezes halfway to his lips. His entire body goes rigid. Those words, that exact phrase. He hasn't heard it since the night Madeline walked out of his hospital room 3 years ago, unable to look at his missing leg, unable to stay with the broken version of the man she'd promised to marry. "Someone I loved used to say that." His voice cracks despite his attempt at control. "Before she left." He turns away quickly, but not before Anaya glimpses the moisture in his eyes. She has no idea what wound she's just reopened. And then, as if the universe has a cruel sense of timing, the cafe door opens again. A woman enters. Designer coat, flawless makeup, Madeline Cross herself. Her eyes find Luke instantly, then drift to the unremarkable shy girl sitting across from him. Her expression shifts through surprise to something harder to define. "Luke." Madeline's voice is smooth, practiced. "I didn't expect to see you here." Luke doesn't stand. His response is measured, distant. "I'm not here with you, Madeline." Anaya instinctively clutches her drawings closer, as if protecting something precious. Madeline's gaze lingers with barely concealed dismissal before she offers a tight smile. "Of course. Enjoy your coffee." She leaves, but the tension hangs in the air like smoke. What heartwarming connection could possibly form between a wounded CEO and a terrified barista? And what secret does this shy girl carry that could save them both? Behind the counter, Harrison, the cafe's owner for 32 years, watches the exchange with knowing eyes. He's witnessed every shade of human pain pass through his doors. Quietly, he prepares a cup of cocoa and carries it to Anaya's table. "On the house," he says gently. "You look like you could use something warm." Anaya's eyes well up. Such a small kindness. Why does it pierce so deeply? Harrison rests his weathered hand on the empty chair for just a moment. "You know," he says softly, addressing neither of them, and both at once. Grief teaches you how to breathe again, once you stop fighting it. The words settle over the table like a benediction. Luke's jaw tightens. Anaya's shoulders tremble. Harrison returns to his counter, leaving them alone with their ghosts. Luke clears his throat. I shouldn't have unloaded on you like that. No. Anaya's voice is firmer than before, though still quiet. You don't have to apologize for being human. Something shifts in Luke's expression. This shy girl with shaking hands has just offered him more grace than he's received in years. I'm Luke. He extends his hand. Anaya. She hesitates, then shakes it. Her grip surprises him stronger than her fragile appearance suggests. As she shifts her laptop to make space, a sheet of paper slips from her bag and drifts to the floor. Luke bends to retrieve it and stops cold. It's an architectural rendering, not amateur sketches, professional-grade work. The precision of the stress calculations, the elegance of the structural design, this is graduate-level expertise, possibly beyond. You drew this? Anaya snatches it back, her face flushing crimson. It's nothing, just something I do in my spare time. I'm not good at anything that matters. Not good at, Luke catches himself, studies her more carefully. The way she refuses eye contact, the defensive curl of her posture. This isn't modesty. This is fear masquerading as inadequacy. What do you do for work? He asks gently. I work here, at the cafe, morning shifts mostly. She's folding the paper into smaller squares, destroying evidence of her talent. It pays the bills. Did you study architecture? Her hands stop moving. The silence stretches uncomfortably long. I started 3 years ago, but I had to. Her voice fractures. I had to leave. Luke wants to ask why, but something in her expression warns him the wound is still raw. Instead, he pulls out his business card and writes something on the back. Callahan Innovations. We design adaptive infrastructure buildings that serve people with disabilities, trauma survivors, communities rebuilding after loss. He slides the card across the table. If you ever want to use that gift of yours for something meaningful, I'd like to talk to you. Anaya stares at the card like it's radioactive. People like me don't belong in places like yours. What does that mean, people like you? Invisible people, dropouts, the ones who don't have degrees or connections or... She's spiraling, breath coming faster. Anaya. Luke's voice is firm but kind. The most brilliant engineer I ever worked with started as a janitor. Talent doesn't need permission from a resume. Before she can respond, the door chimes again. A woman in a severe gray suit strides in. Anita Burns, Luke's HR director. She spots him immediately, and her expression shifts between concern and disapproval. Mr. Callahan, I've been trying to reach you. The board meeting was moved up. We need you at the office. I'll be there shortly, Anita. Anita's gaze slides to Anaya, taking inventory. The cafe apron, the cheap laptop, the trembling hands. Her lips thin with judgment. Of course. I didn't mean to interrupt your break. The pause before break carries volumes. Luke's expression turns glacial. Ms. Hills and I were having a professional conversation, Anita. Is that a problem? Anita's cheeks flush. No, of course not. I'll see you at the office. She exits quickly, but not before Anaya catches the unspoken message. Know your place. Luke exhales slowly. I apologize for that. Don't. Anaya's voice is hollow. She's right. I don't fit in your world. She's not right. She's just... He struggles for words, frustrated. The offer stands. When you're ready. He stands, leaving the card on the table between them. Anaya watches him leave, that subtle mechanical whisper fading with each step. The cafe suddenly feels colder. Harrison appears with a cloth wiping the neighboring table. You going to call him? No. Why not? Anaya's fingers trace the embossed lettering on Luke's business card. Because the last time I tried to help someone with my designs, her voice drops to barely audible. Someone died. Harrison pauses, then continues wiping in slow, thoughtful circles. Seems to me, he says carefully, the question isn't whether you'll make mistakes. It's whether you'll let fear make all your decisions for you. He moves away, leaving Anaya alone with the business card and the weight of possibilities she's too terrified to touch. That evening, in her cramped apartment, with peeling paint and a persistent leak in the corner, Anaya opens her laptop. The unfinished 3D model stares back at her, a rehabilitation center she's been designing in secret, a building that exists only in her imagination. She adds a support beam, adjusts a load calculation, loses herself in the work until her phone buzzes. An unknown number. I meant what I said. You have a gift. The world needs it. L. She stares at the message for a long time before finally typing back, the world doesn't need what I break. His response comes immediately. What if you've been healing things all along and just couldn't see it? She doesn't reply, but she doesn't delete the message either. What will it take for this shy girl to realize that her greatest gift might be the very thing she's spent 3 years running from? 3 days later, Luke returns. Anaya's working the morning shift, mechanically wiping tables. When the door chimes, she looks up and nearly drops the tray in her hands. Luke approaches the counter carrying a manila folder. Your drawings. You left them Sunday. Thought you might want them back. She didn't leave them. He took them. But the kind lie is easier than confrontation. Thank you. She reaches with unsteady hands. I showed them to my chief engineer. Anaya's stomach drops. You what? David said whoever created these understands load distribution better than most people with PhDs. Luke's gaze is steady. Why are you hiding? I'm not hiding. I'm being realistic. Realistic or just afraid? The question lands like a physical blow. Anaya's eyes fill with tears she refuses to release. You don't know anything about me. Then help me understand. Why do you even care? Luke is silent for a long moment. When he speaks, his voice carries weight that makes the air feel thicker. Because 3 years ago, I woke up in a hospital missing part of my leg. The woman I loved said those exact words, something is missing, and walked out while I was still learning to stand. He pauses. When you said that phrase, it reminded me those words don't just belong to her. They belong to anyone who's lost something. And maybe we're not as broken as we believe. Anaya's hands have stopped shaking. She's really seeing him now, not the CEO, but the wounded man beneath. A fire? She whispers. 3 years ago, my brother and I were redesigning our apartment. A neighbor saw our sketches and hired unlicensed contractors to save money, didn't follow proper code. Her voice splinters. There was a gas line inside one of the walls. Nobody checked. One spark and... She can't finish. Your brother, Luke asks softly. He pushed me out the door. Ran back to save the neighbor's little girl. Tears stream freely now. The ceiling collapsed. I heard him calling my name. I couldn't reach him. Luke says nothing. Sometimes silence is the only appropriate response to that kind of anguish. So, you see, Anaya continues, voice breaking, my designs, my talent, it destroys people. If I hadn't been obsessed with perfection, he'd still be alive. That's not. It is my dreams took him away. and I can't lose anyone else. Harrison appears with 2 fresh cups of cocoa, setting them down wordlessly. Luke waits until Anaya's breathing steadies before speaking. Plane crash. 2 years ago. I was piloting a small charter. Engine failure over the Rockies. My co-pilot Marcus had a wife, 2 daughters. He was 48 years old. Luke's hand unconsciously touches his prosthetic. I survived. He didn't. And for the longest time, I believed surviving meant I didn't deserve to. Anaya looks up, her red eyes meeting his. What changed? I realized that surviving doesn't dishonor the dead. Living honorably does. He slides a new business card across the counter, this one with his personal number handwritten. We're not broken, Anaya. We're still breathing. And maybe that's enough to start building from. That night, Anaya opens her email. A notification glows at the top. Subject: interview invitation. Callahan Innovations Design Consultant position. Her mouse hovers over delete. Harrison's words echo: grief teaches you how to breathe again, once you stop fighting it. She clicks delete. The email vanishes. She closes the laptop and buries her face in her hands, sobbing for the version of herself she can't seem to allow. The next morning, her phone rings. You deleted it. Anaya freezes. How did you know? Because I would have done exactly the same thing. His voice is gentle. I'm not asking you to be fearless. I'm just asking you not to face it alone. I can't do this. I'm sorry. Can I ask you something else? Silence. What would your brother want you to do? The question shatters her, because she knows. She's always known. Her brother, who kept every sketch she ever made, who told strangers his little sister would design skyscrapers, someday he would hate what she's become. That's not fair, she whispers. I know, but it's true. 2 weeks pass. Luke doesn't call again, doesn't visit. He's giving her space, and somehow that makes everything worse. Then, on a Thursday afternoon, the sky opens with violent rain. Anaya waits at the bus stop, soaked through, when a black car pulls beside her. The window lowers. Get in, Luke says. This storm isn't kind to anyone. She hesitates, then ducks into the passenger seat, dripping water onto leather. I'm making a mess. It's just rain. He pulls into traffic. Where are you headed? Home. It's close. They drive in silence. The seatbelt catches on his prosthetic. Anaya notices but doesn't look away. Not with pity, just understanding. Does it hurt? She asks quietly. Sometimes. Phantom pain, mostly. My brain keeps expecting something that isn't there anymore. He glances at her. Do you still design, even just for yourself? Every night. I can't stop. It's like breathing. I know it keeps me alive, but I'm terrified of what it might cost. I understand that fear, Luke says. After the crash, I was afraid to fly again. Madeline, my ex, she couldn't handle being with someone so diminished. Left while I was still in physical therapy. I'm sorry that happened to you. Don't be. She showed me something important. Some people love the version of you they invented. When you stop matching that fantasy, he trails off. But then there are people who see you exactly as you are, broken pieces and all, and choose to stay anyway. He pulls up in front of her building. She reaches for the door, then stops. Why are you hiding your pain? She asks, turning to face him fully. Luke meets her eyes. Why are you hiding your gift? Neither has an answer. But something passes between them: recognition. The understanding that they are mirrors reflecting each other's deepest wounds. This inspirational moment would prove to be the turning point neither of them saw coming. The emergency call comes at 2:47 a.m. Luke's phone buzzes insistently. His chief engineer, David, sounds panicked. Critical problem with the rehabilitation center simulation. East wing calculations are failing catastrophically. If we can't solve this before Monday's board meeting, we lose the entire $20 million project. Luke is already dressing. 20 minutes. By dawn, the design team fills the conference room, exhausted and desperate. On the massive display, their rehabilitation center rotates in digital space, a building designed to serve wounded veterans, trauma survivors, people rebuilding lives after devastating loss. Luke's legacy, his redemption project. But the structural integrity analysis flashes red. Critical failure. East wing. If built as designed, the building could collapse under normal occupancy stress. We've run every calculation 3 times, David says. We're missing something fundamental. Luke stares at the screen, everything he's worked toward since the crash. Slipping away. Then he remembers the precise elegance of Anaya's sketches, the way she understood structural dynamics instinctively. Get Anaya Hills here, he says. Who? Anita frowns sharply. The woman from the cafe. Mr. Callahan, we need a licensed structural engineer, not a get her now. 30 minutes later, Anaya arrives in the lobby, still wearing her cafe apron, absolutely terrified. When the elevator doors open, she's ushered into a conference room, packed with exhausted, skeptical faces. Thank you for coming, Luke says. You said emergency. Her voice barely registers. It is. He gestures toward the screen. We need you to look at something. Anita stands abruptly. Mr. Callahan, this is completely inappropriate. She has no credentials, no degree. Anita. Luke's voice could cut steel. Sit down. The room falls silent. Anaya approaches the screen on trembling legs. 20 pairs of eyes watch her with obvious doubt. Her hands shake violently. I don't think I can. The room starts spinning. Her vision tunnels. Luke crosses to her side, speaks quietly. Just say what's true, that's all. She closes her eyes, breathes. Harrison's words surface. Grief teaches you how to breathe again, once you stop fighting it. She opens her eyes, clicks to rotate the building, studies it carefully, and suddenly everything else disappears. There's only the building, the mathematics, the truth of how weight and force and gravity communicate. The east wing will collapse, she says, her voice gaining strength. Not immediately, but under sustained occupancy load, especially the second-floor physical therapy rooms, the vertical stress distribution will exceed safe tolerances within 18 months. Dead silence. That's impossible, David says. We've verified every... Your primary load-bearing wall is misaligned by 13 degrees. Anaya's finger traces the screen with growing confidence. Here, you're calculating based on the assumption that the support beam runs true north-south, but your foundation survey shows a variance of 12.8 degrees. That error cascades through every downstream calculation. David's face drains of color. He pulls up the foundation survey data, stares. Dear God, he whispers. She's absolutely right. We've been calculating against the wrong baseline from day one. The room erupts in controlled chaos. Engineers hunching over laptops running emergency simulations. Anaya sketches modifications on the digital whiteboard, her terror replaced by focused brilliance. If you rotate the support column 15 degrees and redistribute the lateral bracing here and here, you increase load capacity by 18%, while reducing material costs by 12%. David runs the calculations, looks up with awe. This completely solves the problem. This saves everything. Luke stands. Anaya Hills just saved this entire $20 million project. He turns to the board members. Effective immediately, she is our lead design consultant. The room erupts in applause. Not everyone means it. Anita's expression remains stony, but most recognize genuine brilliance. Anaya stands frozen, unable to process what just happened. Later in the break room, she attempts to pour coffee with shaking hands and spills sugar across the counter. Luke appears with paper towels, smiling. You know you knock things over frequently when I'm around. Anaya laughs a real, genuine sound. Maybe you make gravity malfunction. Or maybe, Luke says softly, you're finally letting yourself be visible. Their eyes meet and hold. For the first time in 3 years, Anaya doesn't look away first. Outside the glass door, Madeline Cross watches her expression unreadable. She'd come hoping to accidentally encounter Luke, to pitch herself as PR director for his rehabilitation center project. But watching him laugh with this unremarkable shy girl, this nobody in a cafe apron, something twists painfully in her chest. It's not jealousy exactly. It's regret. Could this heartwarming connection between two wounded souls actually survive what's still coming? Or will the past finally catch up to destroy everything they're building? For 3 weeks, Anaya reports to Callahan Innovations every morning. She has her own office, now modest, tucked in a corner, but undeniably hers. The engineering team treats her with cautious respect. The East Wing redesign is flawless. Yet late at night, the old terrors creep back. Every success feels like tempting fate. Every step forward feels like approaching the next inevitable disaster. She starts avoiding Luke, takes lunch at different times, leaves before he can intercept her in hallways, buries herself in work so she doesn't have to confront what's growing between them. Luke notices, of course. One evening, he finds her on the company rooftop. She's leaning against the railing, staring at city lights below. "You've been avoiding me," he says. Not accusatory, just honest. "I'm sorry. She can't articulate it. "You're scared." "Of course I'm scared." The words burst out. "Everyone I care about vanishes. My parents, my brother, everyone. And now you're being kind, giving me opportunities I don't deserve, and I can't." Her voice fractures. "I can't get attached. I can't survive losing again." Luke steps closer but doesn't touch her. "Then let me choose. You don't have to choose me, Anaya. But let me choose you. I'm not leaving. You don't scare me. The thought of losing you does." The words hang suspended in the night air. "You don't really know me," she whispers. "Not completely." "Broken." Luke's smile is sad. "I know broken intimately. I live it. Every morning I attach carbon fiber and pretend I'm whole. Every board meeting people wonder if the damaged CEO can actually lead." He stops, jaw working. "Every night I question whether the crash spared me for a purpose or as some cosmic cruelty." Anaya turns to face him, fully tears streaming. "Then why do you keep going?" "I didn't. Not for a long time." His voice is raw. "But then this stubborn, brilliant woman entered my life, said exactly what I needed to hear, and showed me that maybe broken people aren't finished. Maybe we're just waiting for someone who speaks the same language." Finally, she speaks through tears. "My brother's last words were, 'I'll be right back.'" She wipes her eyes roughly. "And I waited. For hours outside that burning building, even after firefighters told me. Because he promised." "He didn't break his promise," Luke says gently. "He came back. Just not where you were looking." Anaya looks up, confused. Luke touches his chest, then gestures to the city. "He's in every building you design. Every life saved by better architecture. He didn't leave you, Anaya. He's speaking through your hands now. Something breaks open inside her. Not violently, quietly, like ice finally thawing after endless winter. She takes a step forward until she's close enough to rest her forehead against Luke's shoulder. He wraps his arms around her carefully, like she's made of something irreplaceable. "I'm terrified," she whispers. "Me too. What if I ruin this? Then we'll ruin it together." They stand there as the city breathes below two people who've spent years fleeing connection, finally allowing themselves to stop running. When they separate, something in her expression has transformed. "The rehabilitation center," she says. "I want to co-lead the entire design. With you." Luke's smile could illuminate the entire rooftop. "Are you certain?" "No, but I'm exhausted from letting fear make every decision." "Then it's yours. Ours." As they turn toward the elevator, neither notices the figure watching from the floor below. Anita Burns sees them through the glass. Her expression is complex surprise reassessment, perhaps the first stirrings of genuine respect. The next morning, Anita does something unprecedented. She knocks on Anaya's office door. "Ms. Hills, may I have a moment?" Anaya looks up, immediately tensing. Anita closes the door, takes a breath. "I owe you an apology. I made assumptions based on your background. I was profoundly wrong, and I'm sorry." Anaya stares speechless. "What you accomplished wasn't luck. It was exceptional talent. I should have recognized that from the beginning." Anita extends her hand. "I hope we can start fresh." Anaya shakes it slowly. "Thank you. That means more than you realize." After Anita leaves, Anaya sits alone, staring at the framed blueprint of the rehabilitation center on her wall. For the first time in 3 years, she allows herself to imagine a future where her talent doesn't equal tragedy. This inspirational journey isn't over yet, but the most heartwarming moment is still to come. 6 months later, the same cafe where everything began. Harrison wipes the counter with the same meditative rhythm he's maintained for 3 decades. Sunday afternoon light slants through windows in golden bars. The door chimes. Anaya enters, but she's visibly different now. Her shoulders are straight. Her eyes meet the room instead of fleeing it. She wears professional clothes, not expensive, but chosen with care and confidence. "The usual?" Harrison asks, already reaching for cocoa mix. "Actually, 2 if you don't mind." Harrison's weathered face creases into a knowing smile. He's parking, how did you? 32 years behind this counter. You learn to recognize the small victories. Luke enters moments later, moving with that quiet grace. The mechanical whisper of his prosthetic no longer sounds like loss, just part of who he is. They take the same corner booth where they first met. "Can I share this table?" Luke asks, echoing his original words. Anaya's smile is soft, but genuine. "I think I can make room." Harrison brings 2 cups of cocoa, sets them down without comment, but his eyes hold quiet satisfaction, someone who's watched seeds he planted finally bloom. Luke spreads blueprints across the table. The rehabilitation center. Nearly complete. Every line, every calculation, every safety measure co-designed by 2 people who understand rebuilding. "We break ground on the West Wing next month," he says. "I wanted to ask you something important." Anaya's heart skips. "What?" "Would you stay not just as consultant, as full partner, co-lead on every future project?" He pauses, vulnerability clear in his eyes. "If you'll stay." She reaches across the table, takes his hand. "Only if you stay too." Outside, visible through the cafe window, a car pulls up. Madeline Cross steps out. She wasn't planning to come, she was heading to a client meeting. But something pulled her to this street, this cafe, this moment. She watches through glass as Luke and Anaya bend over blueprints together, heads close, hands intertwined. Watches Luke laugh at something Anaya says unguarded, whole real. Madeline recognizes that laugh. It's the sound he made before the crash. Before pain taught him to guard his joy. She stands there, hand resting on the door handle, but not opening it. Then she turns away. I walked away when he was broken, she murmurs. She walked in when he was still in pieces. I guess that's why she's the one standing beside him now. Not bitterness, just recognition. She made her choice 3 years ago. Luke made his 6 months ago. Some doors once closed aren't meant to reopen. Inside, Anita Burns enters off-duty casual clothes, looking more human than Anaya's ever seen her. She approaches their table hesitantly. I don't mean to interrupt. I wanted to tell you both the board approved full funding, the entire project, every wing. She looks directly at Anaya. Your designs saved more than the building. They saved lives before a single brick was laid. Anaya's eyes well with tears. Thank you for telling me that. No. Thank you for proving me wrong. Anita nods respectfully and leaves. Harrison refills their cocoa without asking. See, he says quietly to Anaya. You're not just breathing anymore. You're living. Luke leans back, his arm resting along the booth behind Anaya's shoulders, not possessive, just present. You know what I think, he says. What? Broken people recognize each other. We speak a language nobody else understands. And maybe that's not weakness. Maybe that's our strength. Anaya leans into his shoulder, the gesture natural, now no longer terrifying. 2 broken roads, she whispers. One beginning, he finishes. Through the cafe window, afternoon light pours in like a blessing.